Well, it's time to work on your financial plan. We do that every week with the help of Peter Fraser, certified financial planner with Credential Q-Trade Securities and the Alterna Wealth Management Group. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Rob.
So this morning we're going to talk about a new poll. It's called the Worry Poll, from Scotiabank, and it's about the time Canadians are spending worrying about their finances. And it is now equivalent to a part-time job. Yeah, an unpaid part-time job, I guess.
Yeah, payment of a different kind. Very true, Rob. According to Scotiabank's new poll out, it offers some, I would say, concerning findings. They talked to 1,500 people, and it appears that Canadians worry about their finances these days. Probably no surprise, but that's at about 15 hours a week or 2 hours a day. Now, that's up quite a bit, like 30% from last year, with the average number of hours that Canadians spend worrying about their finances each week having shown strong jumps, in fact, every quarter since 2021. This is the fourth time that Scotia's published their Worry Poll, and it's probably not surprising, but nearly 3/4 of us are looking for ways to stretch our dollars. And the same number, 75%, express quite high levels of concern when it comes to the rising cost of living, Rob.
What does this poll say about what those who worry spend the most time actually worrying about?
Well, the number one worry, in fact, almost half, is the ability just to pay for things these days. The impact of today's higher prices just on our wallet is what's leading to more time spent worrying. And like you said off the top, that 15 hours a week, that's a part-time job. Incomes haven't kept pace with the rising cost of what we buy, and especially those two Gs, the groceries and gas, they continue to bring the most pain to household budgets. Nearly 3/4 talk about costs like these that are increasing faster than their income. 1 in 5 expect the financial situation, in fact, to worsen in the next 6 months. And it's not surprising, but a pretty big cohort, 60% of us are making concessions on the things we want in order to just afford the things we need.
Yeah, that's distressing. So day-to-day expenses is a very significant worry. What else, Peter?
Well, number 2 is the vanishing ability to pay off debt. I think that's really important. And at 39%, it reflects a significant impact on Canadians. Number 3 comes in as the growing reduction, the worry about the growing reduction, even now the inability to save and to be prepared for those unexpected financial emergencies. Rob, a good financial plan often touts something called the 50-30-20 rule in budgeting. And it simply says that 50% of our income and no more should go towards living expenses. Those are the essentials or the needs. And that the remaining should go towards discretionary spending, our wants. And that last little bit, 20%, should ideally be pointed towards savings. And those are things like an emergency fund and our future goals. But Statistics Canada tells us that the 2020 median income for households in the country was $73,000. So if you apply that 50-30-20 rule on paper, that means that no more than $3,000 a month should be spent on the essentials. Well, the average monthly rent in Canada now stands at $2,000. And the average monthly grocery bill for a family is almost $1,100. So there is no room for utilities, clothing, medicine, transportation. And the benchmarks are becoming out of reach for Canadians. And I for one, really hope that's temporary, Rob.
Yeah. 2,000, if it's 3,000, no more than 3,000 should be allocated for the essentials. And with 2,000 for a roof over your head and $1,100 for food in your belly for a family of 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
You run out of runway.
You're right. Yeah. And heaven forbid if some kind of emergency, right. the car breaks down or there's a hole in the roof or whatever, right? Who's worrying the most?
Interesting question. Overall, 1 in 4 of us worry so much that they're losing sleep over it. But specifically to your question, the Gen Zs, the millennials, the Gen Xers are significantly more stressed than the boomers. We could probably have a whole other show over that. quite concerningly, women are more troubled about their finances than men are by 25%. And worriers seem to vary by province, with Quebecers being the least concerned and Albertans being the most.
Very interesting. Not surprising. Probably has something to do with whether people are carrying mortgages or not, I suspect.
I think so.
So, what's the plan, certified financial planner? What's the plan? I mean, what do you do with this?
Yeah. I mean, there's reality, and I obviously think it's super important that people find comfort and assistance in either getting their first plan or adapting a current one, Rob. Doubling up financial smarts, working together, two heads better than one. But these are means by which we can ensure that these current rough turns in the road are better handled. I have to say it, sometimes temporary employment earnings help stretch fixed income budgets, prioritizing what you can control and using those superpowers of, cost extraction. Tips like we talked about a few weeks back, where you get your employer to deal with your source deductions based on some other things you're doing. But I think we should also close by just saying there's a limit to how much our expenses can be cut. In fact, the Fraser Institute indicates that the average Canadian family is now spending 43% of their income on taxes. So, that rule we talked about, this is more than housing, food, and clothing costs combined. And I often say to people, we don't control the biggest expenses we face today. That's our governments who do. So realism and being realistic about what we can control is I think, an important contribution. And personally, I'm pretty sure I speak for the good financial planners as well, but I like to remember that these are the days when we have to commit to each other, with the highest level of helps and assistance and comfort, conversation. I do believe we'll get through this, but, it's a really tough time in life, as these statistics point out, and we're here to help people navigate through them.
Yeah. So look, thank you for all the advice this morning, Peter. peterfraser.alterna.ca. And that you can find contact information for Peter there, of course, and you can find our podcast and previous conversation, along with great financial planning thought leadership. Thank you, Peter. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, bye-bye. Peter Fraser from Alterna Wealth Management and Q-Trade Securities here.